Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Andrea Epting and Mary, and we're here for a Candid Conversation on the Direct Impact Podcast. Thanks for being here with us. It is season 5, which means we've been talking all things body betrayal trauma. And as part of that conversation, I had recorded some voice memos, and Mary was like, all right, this is good for the Candid Conversation. We want to talk about our bodies and our body composition and how it feels and what is our lived experience when we're moving around the world in these bodies as they change over the lifespan, because they change our whole life.
Yeah.
So, Mary, I mean, like I said, you've listened to my voice memos, how I feel in my body. We'll talk about this a tad, but tell me, where are you coming from?
Yeah. I think of when we think of body and just listening to your voice memo of living in a world that is very much focused on being smaller and being a bigger girl or bigger woman, bigger guy, living in this world. I also think of that because I myself am a bigger girl. Mm-hmm. But I also think too, just coming from my own cultural perspective as a Filipino, as an Asian, I feel like there's more hyper focus on that too, because we're seen as supposed to be small or smaller or this petite thing. But here's the thing, my people are not people of being small. We're Malay origin. I feel like it was bound to happen that we are going to be bigger. Even I'd say skin color, that part of our body, those of us who are darker shades of brown are seen as not pretty enough, and we're wanting something like my skin tone, which is a little lighter. But to me that's crazy because they're beautiful shades of brown. Why can't we appreciate that? And I think that plays into a lot of when we think of body betrayal and growing within our body, a lot of self-love journey is going to happen through our lifetime,
Absolutely. And I think that's what we want to motivate our audience about and move them towards, is that love the skin you're in, love the body that is the one body that you're going to have throughout your lifespan. I am a 40-plus-year-old woman, and I am a Mediterranean background, so I'm half Greek, half Italian, and we have big personalities, and I think with the big personality gives you a little more comfort in a bigger body, which I love that about our ethnicity, at least my family, and I think that just watching the confidence that the women in my culture move around in. I'm privileged to be part of a Greek dancing community where we move our bodies and we dance and we embrace the bodies that we have while we're celebrating the culture. So I think that's a beautiful thing. I can say that being a third-generation American, there is a lot of negative messaging around body. I received a lot of negative messaging around body development, not necessarily from my family of origin, but from the world around me. And like I had mentioned, I've been, your stereotypical small woman for the majority of my life, for 30 years of my life, roughly. I hovered at a very, very lightweight, around 115, 120 pounds. I got very used to that. That wasn't something I really needed to work that hard at. And so I have been, quote unquote, smaller, and I have been 100 pounds bigger than that for the past 15 years, since my medical trauma. And it's unique to be able to experience other people experiencing you in different bodies. It tells you a lot about society and messaging.
I totally agree with that, because even I'll say I've been a bigger girl, like I said, most of my life, and the times that I have fluctuated or was able to get to a weight that was healthier or smaller at least, what that was maybe a 50 pound 30 pound weight loss. I could see differences in how people would interact with me compared to when I was at my highest weight. That they were still nice, but there was something there that you could say no, this is different from when I was when I interacted with you before.
What was your experience?
Yeah, so
what did you notice? Because we're intuitive, sensitive beings. What did you experience?
I noticed it almost felt like it was more acceptable, even though it was still bigger, that because I was seen as smaller, bigger, you know, like within, I think, the 190, 180 range, it was okay. Compared to when you pushed a little more to 200, that it was like, no, that's not okay. Like, you're very plus size, that's not, you're not as pretty or anything. And that's, I think, some of the messaging we get too, even like whether we're too skinny or too big, it's like, it's still not good enough kind of thing. Like, even if I were to bulk up, that's still not good enough for somebody. Or if I got down to the weight, it's still not good enough, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I experienced some definite shifts too. So I'm glad that I already mentioned my big personality, because I do feel like people experience my big personality better in a bigger body. When I was small with that big personality, people did not like that. They were very threatened. They would think one thing and experience me differently, you know, so I would watch that shift. So, you know, and I have a lot of masculine energy, and I feel like when you see that small, petite, fit body, and then you've got all this masculine energy coming out of it, people are like, whoa, like, what's going on? So I think that was part of what I would notice. And then people would be threatened by my smaller self. And I'll say, they just presented as threatened. And when I was bigger, before I would even interact with them, before my personality would be part of a conversation, it seemed like I was more approachable or softer or more nurturing, and people really felt safer in my presence as I got larger. So those were things that I'm like, wow, in a lot of ways, I really appreciate my bigger body. And I was able to use those things that I appreciated about it as I was trying to adjust to being in a bigger body, because that was quite a hard thing to start adjusting to, because you're one way for 30 years, and then, you know, within 2 years you're in a completely different body, and my hormones were all over the place because I had a uterus hijacking moment, and it turned my whole world upside down, hormonally speaking. So that was huge. What else have you noticed?
I like the perspective of like being smaller and then like curvier, more nurturing. To me, it's that perception too of, you know, harsh lines compared to like curves are very rounded and soft. So it's interesting that for you, like people came at you in a different way. I also think of too, like even on my Instagram, you know, when I go on there seeing people of different ages, sizes, men, is what I find most interesting. Like they'll do outfits of the day and they're bigger guys, whether it's a little bulkier muscle or, you know, dad bod, whatever that is. I like seeing the comments of it because we don't see that a lot. We don't really see that side of when it comes to body positivity or body love for a guy's perspective.
And all bodies.
And all bodies,
body types.
And even like this, I can't think of her Instagram name, but she's an older, like 60 plus.
Nice.
She does outfit of the days, and I love hearing her talk and putting on outfits that are, like, people would think, oh, you're too old to wear it. No, you can wear that. Like, it's your self-expression in your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it speaks to personality and how someone feels in their body, not the way, you know, their body might project or reflect, you know. So I think that's so beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I think we really appreciate that. I hope. I hope that, you know, we can all come to, like, genuinely appreciate that. One of the other things that I noticed is people would perceive me as less disciplined when they would see my body composition fluctuate, really. It was like, well, she really let herself go. No, I didn't let myself go at all. I actually really got healthier in so many ways. Healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, physiologically. I'm more fit. My blood work is better. I take just better care of myself all around. And so I just want to speak really to everyone out there and just say, like, what you are seeing or perceiving is not necessarily reality or rooted in anything truthful. And so, like, I don't know, and that's been really frustrating. One, it's hard, you know, for your body to shift and change that way, and you to adapt and love your body in all of its shapes and sizes. But then when there's that perception that, oh, she just gave up. She let herself go. And I'm like, no, actually, like, back then I did nothing. I drank, I smoked, I did, like back then I did nothing good for myself. There was no self-care. Now I'm the healthiest version of myself in 100-pound bigger body. And so it's so interesting how people would look at you and perceive differently.
No, I agree with that. Again, I like going through my own weight loss journey, trying to figure out the comfortability I have now. Like, I even think about when I was in weight loss, trying to get down to a healthier size because I knew I needed a change. Like, it was a drastic change from where I started, just like you. And even then, to look back on it, I was like, I don't think I was as healthy as I think people thought. Like, yes, they saw the weight coming off, but, like, mentally, it was horrible. I was going through a lot because people's perceptions were changing me. I was even feeling like, oh, so you only like me because... now I look this way. And I wasn't really liking myself a lot at that time.
And some of that, good for you. Good for you. When you lose weight, it's like, what do you mean?
Exactly. What does that mean?
I mean, like, you don't... It's very frustrating.
And I think it's even more challenging, and maybe, like, from a man's perspective, too, you can tell me, like, hormonally, but I know for us women, like, our hormones are playing so much into it, like... what is it, insulin resistance. I hear so many stories, and I'm one of them, that you're trying so hard to lose 5 pounds, doing all the things, but yet nothing happens. And then here you are, like, people, again, like you said, you're not disciplined, you're not trying. I am trying every day.
Well, and trying for what? I mean, like, I will say I'm not trying for weight loss. I think it really does matter. Like, what would I be trying for? Like, I'm trying every day to be a better version of myself. I try to take care of my body. I try to love my body. I try to offer it the things that it needs based on my makeup, based on my design, based on my blood type, based on all of those things. Like, yes. But, I mean, my goal is never going to be to lose weight. It's not going to be that. And so I can't stand that, oh, good for you, because my body composition changed. Like, what does that mean? Like, that's not going to be my goal. I want to take good care of myself. I want to get 7 hours of sleep plus 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You know, I want to, you know, really care for myself. But, I'm not going to have goals, especially, you know, when people, you know, think my weight is contingent on something internal. Like, or it's just... I hate that. I hate that. And I really want people to move beyond that because it's just not true.
No, it kind of makes me think, like, when you say, like, the good for you, like a video I watched about anabolic steroid use, how that's big in certain countries. And what's really scary is that you've got young men doing it in their formative years of, like, teens to early 20s when they don't recognize you are damaging so much of yourself. But it's all in the good for you, you bulked up, you got to the right size, you're now perceived as stronger, whatever that masculine, you know, perception is. And again, it's like, are we doing this for ourselves, or are we doing it for somebody else? You know?
Exactly. And some people think, oh, I'm going to like myself or love myself better at a different body size or composition. And that is so sad to me. And I think that we live in that, like, I'll be happy when. When I get to this size, when I get to this type of success, or when I get that car, or when I'm, you know, then I will be. Then you'll be what? I mean, well, I mean, what will you be then? And you'll probably just find yourself unhappy. And when I was, you know, that, you know, just, you know, sexually attractive, I'll say, as far as, like, most people's arousal templates go. When I was that person, I wasn't the happiest person. I was not the happiest version of myself. I was not the most confident or contented version of myself. I was actually more self-conscious. And I think part of that had to do with how people were perceiving me. But I was, you know, more insecure in that state. I don't want to be that again.
No, I really go back to, it really is self-love and finding that, because I've seen different videos where like that a girl like starts off very skinny, but then she was like, you know what, F it all, I'm gonna I'm gonna do what I want to do, and she's now bigger. And people are giving her backlash for it, but she's like, I'm so much happier in this body. I love the way it looks. I love the way I get to dress compared to when I was this small. And she's not, when the thing is, she's not saying it's bad to be that small, but just for her to be happy and content with herself, I think is important.
Yeah. Happy and content, safe and secure in the body you have, taking good care of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think it comes back to, how are you caring for yourself? And if this is the body composition that you naturally hold now with hormonal changes or whatever's gone on, and then great, love that body. Absolutely love it, because you're practicing really good routines and self-care, and that's where we just need to settle. And love ourselves. And, you know, for the people who are not reflecting that back to you, just get rid of them. You know, and I think that's, you know, what we do. I really do. I've always seen self-worth and confidence as the most attractive thing in humans, and I think most of our audience is the same way. Like, you can see something inside of people. No matter what size, shape, color, whatever, you can see that self-confidence come through, and that is the most attractive thing in the whole world.
Agreed. So my question then is, especially as we wrap towards season 6 and we think of journaling, hint for everybody out there, what would be like a good, I guess, journaling practice? How can we incorporate that self-confidence, that self-worth into our daily routine, you know, to show ourselves that?
I can think of about 10 things that we discussed just in this Candid Conversation that would be great to incorporate into the bullet journaling practice that I have in my mini journal, because it's different than other types of journaling practices. This is a bullet journal practice, so you would look at, okay, when it comes to body, when it comes to self discovery and self-love, what are some of the things that I would like to implement, or some changes I would really like to make in the next 90 days to be that version of myself that's more confident and connected to my body.
Yeah. No, I really hope that, you know, our listeners out there will take that, because really we need to be like kind to ourselves. We don't do that a lot, and I think this conversation highlights a lot of that it's there, we see it, we feel it, but we might be afraid to express that and show that. But people love that. We love when you can be comfortable in yourself.
That's right. That's right. People do respond, and it's worth it. It's worth the work. And I think the journal's kind of a good way to get started, personally. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah.
This has been so much fun, and thanks for showing up. See you next week.